I awoke in utter darkness, disoriented and in a state of confusion. My senses were assaulted by the dank, musty odor that filled the air, and I couldn't remember how I'd ended up in this place. Panic gripped me as I realized I was trapped in a room with no discernible exit. The room was chillingly silent except for the distant dripping of water. My fingers brushed against the cold, rough walls as I tried to get my bearings. It felt like I was encased in a claustrophobic tomb, and a growing sense of dread clung to me. Frantically, I began to search for an escape, my heart pounding in my chest, my hands groped the uneven stone walls, desperate to find any sign of a door or a window, but there was nothing. Panic threatened to overwhelm me as I realized that there was no obvious way out. Where am I? I whispered to myself, my voice echoing eerily in the oppressive silence. My mind was a jumble of thoughts, none of which offered any explanation for my situation. Memories of the past, my life before this confinement, eluded me like distant dreams. As I continued to explore, my hands encountered a peculiar groove in the wall, and my heart leaped with hope. I pressed on it, and a low grinding sound filled the air. A narrow crack of dim light appeared, and I pushed harder, feeling the weight of a hidden door give way. With all my strength, I forced the door open and stumbled into the blinding daylight. Blinking and squinting, I realized that I had been buried underground. My eyes adjusted to the harsh, unfamiliar terrain around me, and I found myself standing in the middle of nowhere. I was surrounded by desolation, a barren, endless expanse of arid land, with nothing but a few twisted dead trees in the distance. The sun beat down mercilessly, and the air was parched and hot. The realization that I was miles away from civilization hit me like a sledgehammer. Panic turned into determination. I couldn't stay here stranded in this forsaken place. I had no choice but to find my way back to civilization, wherever that might be. With no clear direction to follow, I decided to head towards the distant trees, my only point of reference. My steps were heavy and uncertain, and each step I took seemed to lead me deeper into the unforgiving wilderness. The ground was uneven, and the barren landscape offered no respite from the scorching sun. Hours turned into days as I trudged forward, my hope dwindling. With each passing moment, I scavenged for meager sustenance, surviving on the little water I could find and the meager plants that clung to life on the arid soil. The nights were even harsher, with the temperature dropping to bone-chilling levels. I wrapped myself in my torn clothing and shivered through the long, desolate hours. My dreams were filled with memories that remained just out of reach, like pieces of a puzzle I couldn't quite put together. But I couldn't afford to dwell on the past. I needed to focus on the present, on survival. The isolation and desolation of this place were taking their toll on my sanity. I couldn't give up. I had to keep moving. One day, as I reached the distant trees, I finally saw a glimmer of hope. Beyond the dead forest lay a distant plum of smoke. My heart soared with the possibility of finding people, of being rescued from this forsaken place. With renewed determination, I pushed forward, my steps quicker now. As I drew closer, the source of the smoke came into view. A small village nestled in the midst of this harsh wilderness. The sight of human habitation was like a lifeline, and I stumbled towards it. The villagers stared at me with a mixture of curiosity and concern, and it was then that I realized the state I was in. My clothes were tattered, my skin sunburned and peeling, and I must have appeared like a wretched soul emerging from the depths of despair. I tried to explain my situation, but my words were incoherent, a jumble of thoughts and memories that still elude me. They offered me food, water, and shelter, and I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, I could piece together the puzzle of my past. As the days turned into weeks and the villagers nursed me back to health, I began to remember bits and pieces of my former life, but the memories were fragmented and hazy, like a story from a long forgotten dream. One thing was clear though, I had been trapped in that dank room for reasons unknown, and the journey to escape it had brought me to the brink of despair. Now, with the help of the kind villagers, I had a new chance at life, a chance to rebuild and rediscover who I once was. My desperate escape from the underground had led me to this desolate wilderness, but it had also brought me to a newfound hope, a determination to uncover the truth, and a desire to find my way back to the world I have forgotten.